My friend blew my mind yesterday. He used software to instantly produce written transcripts of 6 different hour-long lectures on YouTube. Then he took those transcripts and he fed it into an artificial intelligence software, which instantly read all the transcripts and spit out a summary. Then he told this artificial intelligence to transform that written summary into a spoken word format in a podcast style where a male and female voice appeared to be discussing that summary in a 20-minute podcast, and it sounded exactly like two real live human beings talking to each other. My friend could even interrupt that discussion to ask a question, almost like he was calling in to the podcast, and these male and female voices would stop and say, "Hey, okay, yeah, great question. Let's consider that." And then they would answer the question before resuming the podcast. I know a blogger who uses AI to write articles for his food blog. This is a blog online where you can go look up recipes for guacamole or whatever. And the AI he uses not only writes the recipe, it writes the entire web page where a human being appears to be discussing the recipe and telling you about how they use it with their own family on certain nights and how it's convenient and tasty. And then there's the recipe, and then there's some tips on how to change the recipe to give it a little more spice or whatever. The AI that he uses even creates all the photographs for the article, including photographs of the ingredients and then of the prepared dish. And these photographs are utterly indistinguishable from real photographs of food. Like, you would be blown away to realize that an AI had just created everything out of what it gathers from the internet. Artificial intelligence has progressed much further than a lot of us probably realize, and there's a massive spiritual or psychological implication headed straight for our society that hasn't quite landed yet, but will land soon, I believe. And that implication refers to the very core of our identity as human beings, what we believe we are, what we are firmly invested in believing that we are. We're certain that we are, especially if we haven't really looked closely at ourselves. Most of us believe that this talker that we have inside of our heads, the thing that creates and uses language to describe and communicate with others and also with ourselves, most of us think that that talker is what me is. We think these words that appear in our head are what consciousness is, are what creates our awareness of our surroundings, creates our identity as a unique individual. But my friends, if a talking computer can do the exact same thing, in fact, can do it better and definitely faster than half of the population, and it's getting better all the time, then how can that talker inside of our head be what separates us from computers? How can that be the thing that makes us alive and conscious if a box filled with circuits can do the exact same thing? That box filled with circuits can process words and spit them out into coherent patterns even better than most writers can. Listening to that podcast yesterday, where an artificial man and woman chatted casually but very intelligently with each other about 6-hour-plus long lectures, summarizing all their key points, creating real-world examples and using metaphors to make it easier for me to understand, the question struck me: what am I? Who am I? Am I all of that talking that happens ceaselessly in my head? All of that communicating that I do as a writer and vlogger? All the checking who I am and what I am and comparing myself with others as language-based identities? When I look at you, am I seeing the real you? Or am I just seeing and interacting with your word maker, your internal language model? It really landed home for me yesterday that this talker in my head is just a tool. Language is just a tool. It's not me. It's not what awareness is. It is not what creates consciousness. Words are not even what intelligence is, what comprehension is. Words are not what understands words. We are what understands words. We are that wordless understanding that sits invisibly behind words. When we hear words or we read words and we understand them, it is not the words understanding themselves. It is something behind the words. I believe this question will become more and more important to us as AI develops even further. What are we? And we can answer that question for ourselves right now. All we have to do is turn our attention within and ask ourselves, what is it inside of me right now that is understanding these words? If we look for the understander of the words, I think like me, you're not going to find anything. But in trying to find it, you may notice a subtle sense of spaciousness. It's like there's a subtle, invisible field of alive awareness inside of us. And it's that subtle, invisible field that is understanding words. What is this subtle, invisible field of awareness inside? Is it really contained to just inside, or is it also outside? I believe that field of awareness is what we really are. And I also believe that field of awareness is not coming from a physical body or a brain. I think the physical body is really just this biological periscope with arms and legs that can move around and allows awareness to perceive this realm that we live in. That subtle sense of alive awareness exists before words. And to use a rather old word that does come with a lot of baggage, but might be useful, this field of subtle awareness is our spirit. It can't be cut, burnt, drowned, or crushed. And although these bodies are born and die, this subtle spirit, this field of living awareness, is not affected by that. It can't be harmed, but when we become ensnared by words and start identifying with them and believing them, then we suffer. We appear to be harmed because we believe it. But are we truly being harmed?